What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be chatting with Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder as Chet Holmgren, Thunder prized rookie, second overall pick in the draft, injuring himself during a Pro-Am basketball event, will now miss his entire rookie season. What possible silver linings can be drawn from this situation? What's the severity of Chet Holmgren's injury? We're going to get into all of that and more in just a second, but first, a quick message from our friends over at NHTSA, because look, are you one of those people that thinks it's okay to drive around while high? What's the worst that can happen, right? Maybe you drive a little bit slower than the posted speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Completely wrong. The truth is, reaction times are way, way down when you are high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel of a car. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Joining us now is Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder. You can follow on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Now, Rylan, unfortunately, some of the most disappointing news probably of this NBA offseason, Chet Holmgren injuring himself in a Pro-Am, the crossover event, and is going to now miss his entire rookie season. You know, it seems kind of like a whirlwind of events, because it felt like we got the news that Chet Holmgren had the injury, and the initial prognosis, whatever, was he might miss a couple months beginning part of the season, and then seemingly within 24 hours, 48 hours, it went from he might miss a little bit of time to, oh, he's completely scratched out for the entire year. So let's start first with the severity of this injury. What do we know about it so far?
So far, we just, like you said, it started out when you were watching the crossover live. Maybe it's a rolled ankle, maybe it's nothing. Don't hear anything for days on end. And then Wednesday, Shams reports that they fear it's like a ligament damage, and they fear it could be for the season. Then Thursday morning, boom, the Thunder send us a press release saying he's out for the year, and Sam Presti immediately goes on to a Zoom meeting, and we all talk to Sam. And talking to Sam was very encouraging. Sam Presti mentioned that it wasn't like a bone break or a fracture. This was a kind of a tendon issue, and that he's already lifting with his upper body, lifting weights, and he's already shooting without putting weight on that right foot, obviously, and that they've been given assurance that this should recover perfectly fine, and it should be something that he gets over and doesn't have any negative reactions to in the future of his career. Obviously, it sucks to miss this season, but I think that ultimately, big picture, it'll be okay. I mean, Sam Presti put it best. If you told me I could have Chet Holmgren or any other player in this draft, but I have to wait a year for Chet Holmgren, I'd still pick Chet Holmgren. I'd still wait that year and get Chet Holmgren. So maybe this will work out, 10, 15 years down the line. And then maybe also he has injury concerns. Who knows? I think that big takeaway of injury concerns is kind of fool's gold, because as a peek behind the curtain, those of us in the media don't know anything. We're not doctors. So either he's going to get hurt again and we say he's injury prone, or he's not going to get hurt again and we won't say he's injury prone. We play the results on that kind of stuff. So we just don't know what's going to happen from this. Either he will or won't get hurt. And as of right now, he looks on track to make that recovery.
Hey, and look, the last, premier big man prospect to have missed not only just one season, but a couple seasons right out of the gate after being drafted at the top of the NBA draft seems to be doing pretty well for himself right now. And that guy's name is Joel Embiid. So if Chet Holmgren can have any semblance of a career like that after recovering from this injury, working on his body, getting, right. That was one of the messages from Sam Presti too, is the encouragement that he should be able to still do a lot of work with the basketball, a lot of, still practice and training routine, stuff like that. Obviously not quite the same, like the on-court reps that you would have hoped he could have gotten from his rookie year, like, a normal rookie year, but there's still optimism that he will be able to grow and learn despite the injury, right?
There is a ton of optimism about his development. And I think that people are going to get confused, and especially as this team probably gets off to a slow start win-wise. I mean, look at their October stretch. They could be 1-9 after their first 11 games. It could be 1-10 or whatever to the first 11 games. It could be terrible. Look at that opening stretch, and you'll see why. It's going to be confusing to see Chet Holmgren on the court but not playing basketball. But I want to stress that there's a huge difference in getting shots up and practicing versus playing a 5-on-5 game versus playing a 5-on-5 game in the actual NBA. And so the messaging has been clear that it'll be, an overhaul to his body, being able to lift weights and stuff for a whole year. And also he'll get on that court soon, in the relative terms of like 4, 5, 6 months. And still he'll be able to practice and get better. And then the live 5-on-5 stuff will probably happen sometime over the summer. And then he'll be able to be full go once the season starts next year as it stands right now. But the big thing was just, there are so many other ways to get better than playing 5-on-5 NBA basketball. That's obviously a very important way to do it, but Chet Holmgren is a basketball junkie, self-proclaimed, and that's what Sam Presti was pushing a lot last week. He's going to be in the film room. He's going to be asking questions. He's going to be engaged in practices. He's going to be taking mental reps and seeing and envisioning how he can make this team better, while that will also make him frustrated because of, I feel like I can make this team better if I could play, but I can't physically play. It'll also get him more prepared to join this team in a year from now. So I think that this will do some good as developmental, kind of track, in the sense of, it's not as though it's just a total waste. This isn't 2K. He's not just going to be sitting in a kind of hyperbolic chamber for a year and just not touching anything and not doing anything. He's not a trading card. He's an actual human being. So he'll get to talk to Mark about NBA basketball and talk to the coaching staff about how why this happened or why they called that player. Or he's going to get those mental reps. And Sam Presti stressed that it'll be on the Thunder to keep him engaged. And that, to me, was a huge talking point, and why I believe that the Thunder can do that, not just as a blind homer, is because last year, whenever they sent guys down to the G League like Trey Mann, like Jeremiah Rompsnurl, like Pokashevsky, the Blue play in the same exact arena as the Thunder in the Paycom Center. And so every night after that Blue game ended in the afternoon, they called them right back up. They wanted them back on the bench. They wanted them to be engaged in the game. So they've already laid that foundation of, as an organization, we want to be, we want to have this camaraderie, we want to have this togetherness. That will not change with their second overall pick. In fact, of course, it'll get enhanced with their second overall pick. So I still think that the messaging from Sam Presti should make you feel very excited if you're a Thunder fan about the future. And this Thunder team this year still has 2 other lottery picks and three draft picks in general still, plus SGA, plus Josh Giddey. So it sucks. Obviously, we'd rather watch Chet Holmgren play October 19th than not. But it's not as though it's doom and gloom and this is just all over. Like, his career is over, his NBA track record is over. It's not any of that. It's a freak accident, and you move on from it.
Yeah, a lot of synergy definitely within the Thunder organization, between the OKC Blue, between the Thunder. And then to your point about just the fact that so much of the development goes on kind of behind the scenes. Everything that I've understood from talking to coaches, players, scouts is that the development that we see taking place 48 minutes out of a game, 82 games out of a season, is just the tip of the iceberg compared to what actually goes on behind the scenes, going through practices, shoot-arounds, going over film, all of that. And that's all things that Chet should still be have access to, albeit in a bit of a limited capacity as far as full-blown like 5-on-5 scrimmages, things like that. But the development doesn't just stop because of this injury. So I do think that's a very important takeaway to have here if you're looking for some type of optimism or some silver linings out of this situation. Now, Rylan, one of the other things that I've seen that's been kind of an unfortunate side effect of this is I've seen some like NBA fans out there trying to run like victory laps over, hey, well, going into the draft, like we had, Chet had some injury concerns, right? How's his frame going to hold up at the NBA level? What would you say to any individuals that are trying to like run this referendum on Chet's ability, to succeed in the NBA with his size, his frame, because of this type of an injury?
Well, as Devin Booker once said, you can't talk basketball with everybody, and you can't also expect everybody not to be lazy. So basketball, there are so many levels to it: high school, college, NBA, and everyone wants to be an expert. Like, it's fun being an expert. It's fun talking about basketball. It's fun acting like you know what you're doing and predicting and saying, oh, I was right there, and ignoring all the parts where you were wrong. The thing is, that's just lazy in Chet Holmgren's case. Not only was this a freak accident, not only does this have nothing to do with his frame, so therefore your frame concerns are also non-existent at this point, because this injury was not a cause of that. And Brian Windhorst of ESPN talked about on the Hoop Collective podcast that they were able to watch those private runs that he was posting on Instagram. They were actually in the gym on those runs where he was playing against Embiid, and he looked really good against Joel Embiid. So, it wasn't a frame thing. This was a freak accident, and you're also showing that you don't know what you're talking about whenever this is Chet Holmgren's first ever injury, ever. This is the first time he's ever been hurt. So how is there injury concerns with him when he's never had an injury beforehand? So it's just, you can't talk with everybody, and also you can't escape people being lazy just because they want to have a take. They want to have an opinion. They want to have blame. Sometimes there's just no one to blame, and it just sucks. And it's just a misfortune.
Sometimes the situation just sucks. I couldn't have said it better myself. Last thing here for you, Rylan, and this one's maybe a bit of, maybe a bit divisive here, amongst some people, but just, should Chet Holmgren have even been playing in the Pro-Am event to begin with? And do you think that this situation may lead to, teams being even more kind of protective than they already are of especially highly touted prospects coming into the NBA? We already kind of see it right during Summer League where, they'll trot out the rookies for, a couple games here and there. And then oftentimes they get shut down for the remainder of Summer League because nobody wants to risk an injury when there's no stakes, that kind of thing. So how do you think this kind of plays out in the future of situations like these Pro-Am events that we see taking place during the offseason?
I just think it goes back to playing the results. I mean, LeBron played in that game. Jason Tatum played in that game. The court was terrible for them too. They just happened not to get hurt. Paul Carroll played in that game. So even if you want to compare and say, well, this was your prize rookie, this is going to turn your franchise around, this is a future superstar. Well, so is Paul Carroll for the Magic, and he still played in that game. And Gary Harris got hurt 2 days ago in a private practice where he's out for the season now. He hurt his knee in a private run. Injuries happen, and these guys are going to play basketball. If they didn't, you'd call them lazy, and you'd say that they aren't working on their craft or don't care about the NBA or don't care about their job. So you can't have it both ways. I think that this is again, misfortune, but to me, it's not a referendum on pro events. I mean, should they have played that physical game that day, considering the court conditions? No. But in general, should guys play in the Drew League? Should guys play pickup games in the offseason? Yes. I mean, they're basketball players. That's what they should do. It was just a bad mixture of circumstances to where if no one gets hurt that day and they call the game 3 possessions earlier and nobody gets hurt, we're not even talking about this discussion of if guys should play. We're still celebrating it. We're still putting it on the NBA app. We're still watching it for no reason at home. So it's just a bad situation and just misfortune.
What does this OKC Thunder team look like without their prized rookie big man on the floor? What does Chet Holmgren's development look like not touching the court for the OKC Thunder this season? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Thunder. Rylan, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks for having me.